at that time, the whole nuclear threat was really quite in the public eye. Between Protect and Survive, the government leaflets that went out, things on the telly and what to do if there was the 4-minute warning. So, when your councils and things start doing this, it's like, it's not if it will happen, it's when it will happen. Our concerns were not so much for ourselves, but our concerns were for our children. I'd been involved within the community on different levels, from working as a home carer, but also working as a trades council secretary, which was quite unusual in Wales. I think I was the only female. But also I was involved within setting up a local CND group in Ammanford. Anne Pettit had this idea of walking to Greenham because Greenham was one of the American bases that was chosen to site new cruise missiles. I knew her partner Barry, who used to represent Carmarthen CND, and so he suggested to her that if she wanted somebody to help, which she did, try me. So we plotted out a route, and then it was contacting people, whether they were ministers or labour groups or socialist groups or women's groups or whoever, because we needed hospitality. But whenever we'd ring up, they'd say, so who are you? Even CND, who do you represent? And in the end, we decided we can't just give our names, because we're just this group of women who are like going to push a load of pushchairs down to Greenham, And so we came up with Women for Life on Earth, which had no structure to it whatsoever, completely anarchic in its setup, wonderful. We advertised for women to join. We never said we'd exclude men, we just didn't mention. It was an understated sort of acceptance that this was a women's march. We hoped we wouldn't have just activists. We hoped we'd have ordinary, if that's the word, because I don't think any of these women were ordinary, women to go on the march. If we could have handpicked them, we couldn't have had a better mix, in a sense. They'd worried and they'd done different things, but they'd never actually partook in a sort of a long-term, well, I suppose nobody had really, none of us had, a long-term sort of action, which is what it was. That frightened a lot of people, and those that didn't want to do that didn't have to do it. They were as part of it as anybody else, and if somebody else wanted to go a bit further, chain themselves to the front and whatever else, they weren't any better or worse than that person. So it was very round table, it was very everybody has a voice and everybody has to be listened to. I think we were very gentle with each other. We didn't own this. This was just us doing something and people could come along and take... We, both of us, have never felt we've owned it. It worked very well as a whole. Local papers picked it up and things, and you could explain why you were there. It was a very clear message then. American missiles are going to be sighted here. That makes us a target. We don't want it here. They need to go away. And there needs to be discussion and things like that. Greenham became a very complex place. People then came with their own agendas. Politics around women's groups and everything else, in a sense, sort of took over after a while, I think. My way of thinking about protest was changing because nothing changed. It just all carried on. Yes, we'd highlighted it, but the elite was still going ahead and doing these things anyway. They're much more open in their disregard for the majority of people in this country than they used to be, which I think is a good thing, and carry on like that, and then maybe people will start realising we need to have a big change.